Welcome listeners to episode 40 of the Running Guide podcast, where I aim to provide informative content and interviews with elite athletes and health professionals around the world, like in today's episode, where I'm chatting to a runner from the semi-rural suburb of Terry Hills in the Northern Beaches area of Sydney, who over the last couple of years has stepped up onto the podium multiple times with some great performances on the track and road over the 5 and 10K distance. And just last night picked up his second state title this year to go with the 5,000 metres by winning the 3,000 metres out at SOPAC with a PB. He's part of the growing crop of talented distance runners we have going around the country at the moment, and I'm sure we're going to be hearing his name mentioned a lot in the years to come. Welcome to the Running Guide podcast, Kieren Tall. Hey, Tally, how you going, mate?
Good, thank you for having me. Appreciate it.
Mate, it'd be pretty smart to start off talking about that 3,000 metres last night. Some pretty smart running out there, second state title. Let's talk about it.
Yeah, look, I'm really happy with last night. I did go in with the idea of wanting to run quick, and I knew that I may have to do a lot of the work, which ended up happening, so I kind of predicted that, but ended up being a little more tactical than I thought. Wasn't quite expecting that, but been working on my kick, doing a lot of gym and a lot more speed work, so I think that's all that hard work and a few changes in training has paid off.
You talk about tactical, it looked like you were calling the shots out there. Is that not the case?
Yeah, look, I took it out quick because I wanted to kind of break a few people and, split the race apart. Having Craig and Joe come with me was nice. I was kind of hoping we'd run a bit quicker than we did. So when some of the guys took over the pace, because I was kind of tossing up between, do I just take this out at 63, 64s myself, or do I sit back a little bit? I decided I'd sit back a little bit, and then considering the race slowed down, I decided that I'll try and get Craig to do some of the work and, not be the guy that leads till the last lap and then gets past.
So there wasn't an agreement before the race with JB to sort of lead you out, or was that he was just racing his own race, or what was going on there? Obviously, you guys do a lot of training together.
Yeah, Joe and I do a few of our runs together. We're really good mates. We did mention that we might try and help each other if it came to it, but we didn't really have a concrete plan or anything. We kind of just during the race, to be honest, just said, "Oh, 2 laps each makes sense." I think Joe started to hurt a little bit.
Sure.
It's doing a 3K in November, December is, fairly early in the season, considering really none of us have raced at all, let alone on the track for quite a long time. I'm very happy with where I'm at in terms of my speed work and my fitness. I think it'll be nice to have a go at a faster 3K later in the year, because I definitely think that most of that race, to be honest, felt more aerobic and more towards like a 5K kind of pace.
Okay. I mean, I was watching the community races early in the day. It was blowing pretty hard. It looked like it had settled down a little bit, maybe a bit of rain, but the conditions obviously looked like they'd improved a lot.
Yeah, no, with a little bit of drizzle, but honestly, pretty good conditions. It cooled down a bit, not much wind around. The only thing I'd say, I think before the race, it was pissing down rain, and I kind of thought this is going to be, pretty average, and it calmed down just in time.
It does that sometimes. I mean, we're talking there before off air, starting later in the night, but sometimes there is that advantage. I mean, you've probably experienced in other races, it can be pretty average wind and that, and then as the night goes on, it starts to settle down. So that is probably one advantage of starting at 9:30. But apart from that, for early birds like me, I'd be struggling for sure.
Oh yeah, I think even for the people that going to bed later or have work late, run late, it's a late time to do a race. And I've said this to a few people when I've said it a few times, sitting there all day is really hard. So I always try and make sure I'm doing something during the day, even if it's doing some shopping, getting a haircut, going to lunch. I've got a routine that I go to the same cafe and get a veggie burger and chips before every track race. And it's kind of become my routine now. For those of you on the beaches, Driftwood Cafe is very good. Yeah, no, 9:30 is very late. It's hard to get to sleep after a race like that too.
Yeah, you still be amped up for sure. Yeah, for sure. And how do you go as far as nervous tension leading into those races? Are you getting better at that, or are you still sort of, getting pretty nervous heading in?
Oh, I think no matter how good you get, you're always nervous, but I'm getting better at it. I've definitely been working on the sports psychology things a fair bit over the lockdown, and just in general since I've started to step up into some bigger races and be, I guess, more of a chance of winning them or being more of a talked about contender. So definitely, I think I've had my tough moments just like everyone has, and I've had things I've needed to work on and what in regards to the mental side of running. I think that's very overlooked by a lot of people. Getting better, I think I was pretty good about yesterday. I got a really good support network. I was hanging with my girlfriend and a few friends and just getting some things done. I distracted myself for most of the day. I had probably a couple of hours where I was a little bit nervous, I'd say, but I was pretty good. It's just putting it all in perspective. Everyone gets those same thoughts of, what if I don't win, or what if it goes badly tonight, or what if this happens? But it's how you deal with the thoughts and how you choose to. I guess you can choose whether to let them affect you or not. And what I've been training to do is, change my response to them.
Fantastic, mate. Definitely. 13-second PB, 8:04. So obviously you're nudging closer to that sub 8, and probably I'm pretty sure you'd be confident that you're capable of doing that now, and probably will next time you get the opportunity.
Yeah, so it did feel, to be honest, apart from that first lap or two when we did go through 800 in about 2:07, that felt like I could have definitely kept that pace going if I'd wanted to. Didn't really want to lead the whole thing. As I said, I was tossing up about doing that. Just decided, considering the company I was with, I kind of could see that Craig Huffle wasn't hurting a lot and probably wasn't going to want to do any work until the latter stages of the races unless I made it tactical like I did. So I decided that I didn't really want to just drag someone around for them to kick off me, because that's not the best tactic. So I thought I'd make it a little bit tactical. And regarding racing, I do want to try and have a crack at a 750 or even maybe a bit quicker if I'm in the right race. I definitely think that based on my training I've done in last night's race, it's doable. I found that that 8:04, 8:05, whatever it was, it did feel like a tactical race, and it didn't feel like it was a fast race, so to speak. I took the race out fast to try and discourage everyone from coming with me. I also knew that if I just decided to even split 64, 65s, I'd probably take a huge amount of people with me, which I didn't want to do.
Yeah.
Whereas not many people can, go out in like a 60 or, a 61 and then back up and run a 63 or 64 and then settle in, because sometimes that'll red line people and they wouldn't go with me. So that was kind of the idea.
It certainly worked. Yeah, it certainly broke up really, really quick. I guess the guys behind, if that was me, I'd be thinking, I hope you can't hold this, but you never know. And I mean, as long as you don't start to doubt yourself, but you're obviously quite confident that, you could pull out a fast 4 opening 800 and still have enough to finish the job. So that was good.
Yeah. I've been doing a lot of like kind of 400, 800s in training. I know that running a 60 is pretty comfortable for me and pretty aerobic. And yes, it's obviously on the faster side of what I do in a race, but my body is very used to running that, so I knew exactly how it responds.
Yep, no, that's fantastic. All right, mate, we're going to head further back into your career, but I just want to kick off like I normally do, working through your PBs. We'll obviously skip the 3,000 because that's a new one, but let's go to your 1,500. So that was a 3:55.02, November 18, 2018, out there in Sydney.
Yes, that one was a while ago.
Yep.
A bit of a tactical one. I did actually race 1,500 2 weeks ago, and again, that was a tactical race, but I think unofficially 3:49 or 3:50.
Okay.
That was a pretty chill one again. I said to my coach, this kind of feels like 3K pace for most of it, and then I hit the afterburners in the last 200 and won that one in a kick. But I wouldn't mind racing some quick 1,500s later in the season.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
I haven't really spent much time on those races. I've really only ever raced 2 of them ever.
5,000 earlier this year down at Box Hill there. Everyone loves Box Hill. 13:50.54.
That was Box Hill Burn. Box Hill was a great track. That was a race put on by Steve Deneen down in Victoria with his group, Deneen Runners. That was a paced 5K. It was a little windy and very cold that day. I specifically remember it. I was kind of hoping I'd run a little bit quicker than 13:50, but I hadn't done a lot of faster races at that time in the season. I wasn't not nearly as fit as I am now. So at the time, I was actually somewhat happy, but somewhat disappointed with that. I think definitely the way I am now, I would be in shape to run quicker than that. So looking forward to some opportunities, that's for sure.
I might add in some other stuff with these whilst I'm talking about the PBs. I'm just looking at the 3 5Ks you've actually done this year. And one of them was that other state title you picked up in February, back out there in SOPAC. So you ran 13:59.23. So you've run 3 of them this year, all under 14. But let's talk about that 5K state title as well.
Yes, gonna have to try and remember that. That was a while back. I remember that being a little bit of a tactical affair as well. And when I say tactical, I don't mean it was ridiculously slow. It just wasn't what I would consider a fast race. It was kind of had the intention of going out quick, and then it slowed down. And once it slowed down, I decided to kind of take a back seat until would have been about 3 or 4 laps. I think it was 3 laps to go. I might have made a move. it was either 3 or 4 laps, and I kind of knew, I could see that a lot of the guys in the pack were starting to hurt, and something in my mind has told me, okay, now's the time. And it did work. I did end up taking Matt Hudson with me, but similar to the tactic I used in this 3K, I kind of thought, look, I wanted to be not leading with 200 to go. That was the idea.
Yeah, okay.
I like being able to either kick off the bend or kick with 100 to go, depending on what I'm feeling.
I mean, obviously last night you went out fast and aggressive. Guys like Stewie and that are doing that. Are you starting to try to develop your sort of taste of how you want to actually race, or you just mentioned that you'd rather do this rather do that? Is that sort of changed over your career? Are you starting to become a certain type of runner when you're running these track races, or?
Yeah, I say yes and no to that. It's a complicated answer because I try and be adaptable to different tactics depending on who I'm racing and obviously how fit I am and what I want to get out of the race. Because there's going to be some races where I purely want to win. So I'll obviously use whatever I think is the best to actually win. There's some races where I'll actually just want to run fast and not worry so much about the placing. But I think as I'm getting fitter and developing and learning race tactics, I definitely think a lot of these track races, I'm getting a lot better at understanding them because I used to have pretty average race tactics and not really understand track. So I've been working on that, and I think I definitely prefer a faster race. I'm not someone that would want to roll around in a 3K at 68 and then try and run a 52. Not really my thing, although I kind of like a faster race, to be honest. I'm getting used to the surgy races too, I'd say.
Yeah. Okay. So you don't mind that change of pace, and if it's not happening, you wouldn't be afraid to actually put some surges in and not worry about that hurting you and rather hurt your competitors.
Yeah, that's it. And in saying that, I'd be happy to in certain circumstances just take the lead and make the race quick the whole way, like I did at Sydney earlier this year. Ben and I were kind of sitting next to each other. Ben was sitting behind me for some of that race as well. So I had 2 62-minute half marathon runners just following me in a 10K. It was a weird feeling at the time because I didn't quite realize how fit I was back then. I was a bit shocked that I was actually fit enough to run sub 29 on the road. And I remember looking back and thinking, why are these 62 half marathons sitting behind me? But I think I am learning how to race more. I said I like a faster race, but I'm becoming a lot more adaptable and, being able to change my tactics if need be, like I did last night, because I didn't expect Craig to come with us. I wasn't sure what he was going to do or how fit he was because he's from Victoria, and I haven't actually really spoken to him or met him before, so I didn't know whether he was in 8-minute shape or whether he was in 8:20 shape. I had no idea. So I kind of thought, okay, I've got a 3:36 1,500 meter runner with me, and it's turned into a tactical race. So I've got to try and put the odds in my favour somehow. So I have to be adaptable.
Yeah, he had to work pretty hard to pull you and Joe back. Did you know he was coming, and did you know there was a gap behind?
I knew there was a gap behind. I wasn't totally aware it was coming. I was trying not to look behind too much, but I kind of had an inkling he was coming. You could hear it on the commentary.
Now, talk about tactics. Benny Saints, your coach there at Run Crew, did you have a discussion before the race about how he thought it might go or what you should do, or were you just like, let's play it by ear and I'll just pretty confident I can make the adjustments on the fly if I have to? Or
I think Ben and I definitely had a chat before. We always do before every race, but we both agreed that we didn't really know exactly what was going to happen and who was going to come with me, who wouldn't. Ben said he probably wasn't going to come with me if I was going to do what I was going to do, and we both agreed, I've got to go out quick and break the race open, even if I do sit back later in the race and don't go for it. Originally, I was on Tuesday. I kind of thought if it's good conditions, I'm actually just going to try and solo it and run a 750 or something. Just bang out 63s, but kind of just went with the flow and was adaptable.
It was great to watch, mate.
Thank you.
I don't know. Well, obviously we missed that interview at the end. The mic wasn't working. I don't know if James has got that back up. I had a quick look. I didn't see it, but yeah, unfortunately we didn't get that. You probably heard that everyone's told you when there was no audio for your interview at the end. But were you aware of that or?
Yeah. I found that out this morning, and just 4-minute video on the internet of me silently talking with my good video of my mullet. Got positives.
The mullet, yeah, exactly. We'll talk about that since you brought it up. I mean, you were sort of, you and Ed were sort of. I mean, Ed Goddard. Obviously you do a lot of running with him. Now he's back overseas, obviously, but you guys were the mullet brigade, and you might have that title now. He's back overseas. But what is with the mullet, mate? Tell me. I mean, I'm starting to see it pop up. I love my AFL. There's blokes running around there with mullets. Is this starting to become a trend? Is it a statement, or what's going on?
Ed probably was the first person to have a mullet in the running community, I reckon. Although someone's always had one. We originally did them with one of my mates, Josh Phillips. We both decided to shave them in lockdown just as a joke, really, and then they kind of just grew on us. We decided we liked them, and now I think I actually suit a mullet, and I'm better looking with one than without one. So it's a bit of a unique kind of Kieren thing. It's something that I like. It's a part of me now, part of my self-confidence, and just grew on me. I just decided to keep it, and then I grew it really, really long in lockdown this year to the point where it was well beyond my shoulders, and I cut it yesterday just because it was getting a bit ridiculous.
Okay.
Definitely going to be keeping it though. It's a bit of a, it's kind of like an icon, like Stewie when he used to always race in his arm sleeves, and
Okay. Yeah.
Some of the Sydney boys have got their mullets. Everyone's got their little thing, and I think it's just become a part of my identity. And when you're trying to get sponsored or grow your social media profile, even if it's just among your friends, having something that you're known for is really helpful and important. It's a bit of fun too.
Well, if you keep winning races, mate, and being aggressive the way you are, mate, they'll remember that more than anything. But yeah, for sure.
Mullets, I feel like the mullets look good with running gear too.
I mean, the way you guys are cutting it is to keep it out of your eyes. I mean, you can have long hair, but you're just sort of cutting it back to the ears there, so it's not flopping around your eyes. Speaking about Ed, I think he had NCAA cross country in the last 48 hours. Do you know how he went, or?
Yeah, I'm not exactly sure what the race. I don't think it wasn't NCAA finals. It was one of the, I think it was one of the like regionals or pre-meets or something.
Okay. Yeah, right.
He ran I think he's inside the top 5. Knowing Ed, he would have wanted to win because Ed holds himself to a very high standard. Like myself and most of the guys that I run with in Sydney, everyone wants to win, but he seems like he's pretty fit. I think his focus is on the marathon, though, by the look of his training.
Mate, let's move on to that 10,000. 28:47, October 24, 2020. So 28:47.92. Let's talk about that race.
We actually had an agreement in that one. We were going to take 2 laps each. That was between myself, Benny Saint, Kev Batt, James Nippereth, Ed, and me. Bit of kind of average conditions, and I wasn't really sure how I was going to run that night, so I was kind of pleasantly surprised. Obviously, I wanted to win. Didn't quite have the fitness to kind of stick with Ed, because Ed did what I did in the 3K and threw a few surges in through the race, and that made the race a bit hard for me. I was kind of hanging on when it came to 800 to go, but I think that was a good stepping stone to running a faster time, and I was kind of expecting to, although I didn't really get another chance over 10K to do that. But yeah, no, I was happy with it. It was a tough race. I wasn't quite at the fitness level I'm at now, but it was probably pretty good for the training I was doing then.
How fast have you run down there at SOPAC? You have been under 29 down there?
Yeah, I ran one of my breakthrough races was 2019 SOPAC. I ran 28:52.
Okay.
So that was probably my big breakthrough into the open running world, if you know what I mean, of going from a boy to a man, so to speak.
So what position did that get you in?
Oh, I'd have to try and remember that. It might have been just 10th or 11th. It was either just inside or just outside the top 10. It was a very, very quick race.
Yeah. So what was that, 2019, was it?
Yeah. So it would have been 21.
28:52, 11th spot. There you go.
Oh, was that a good, decent guess?
Yeah, no. Good job, mate. Good job. 3,000 steeplechase. Let's talk about that. You had a shot at jumping the barriers, mate. How long did you do that for?
Oh, that was a while ago. I've decided to give it a go. I haven't really.
You keep saying a while ago, but for us guys, like 2018, it seems like a long time for you, but it's not for us, mate.
Yeah, it feels like a long ago to me.
Yeah, okay.
Pre-COVID. Gosh, I've raced like 2. I think I've only raced 2 steeples ever, and I've never really actually learned how to jump a barrier. So if you're thinking of trying to find me in a steeple, I'm very glad that you won't find any videos on the internet of me jumping them, because it's not a good look. If I want to do another steeple, I'm actually going to have to sit down and learn how to do it.
Is that something that you want to play around with, or more than likely not?
I'm honestly not sure. I haven't thought about it. I'd be open to it if I thought that there was a good chance of me, having a dig at an Olympic spot. But the one thing is that I don't have very flexible hamstrings. I've got really good muscle retention. I've got really good, my legs are quite springy.
Yeah.
I've got good hand-eye coordination, but my hamstrings are very tight. So I don't know if my body is quite suited to steeple.
Yeah, it's amazing how many elite runners are really tight through the hammies. Tightness is sort of good in a way, as long as you don't let it get too crazy. But, mate, 5K, they always have Noosa Bolt down there as a 5K roadie, 14-13 up there in 2019. Great experience, especially in the triathlon environment, which you've played around with before, which we'll talk about soon. So let's talk about the Noosa Bolt.
Oh, Noosa Bolt's probably my favourite road race of the year. I was disappointed I didn't get to go up and do that this year. That was a pretty cool race. I remember quite clearly we started with a huge pack and the race kind of just got quicker and quicker to the point where it was literally just me and the MTC boys. I think it was Geordie and Dave, and we might have had Louis McAfee with us and Jack Bruce. That was back then. I was kind of just happy to be there, and I didn't really see myself as a contender to win. So I was pretty surprised that I actually managed to be within a second or two of those guys. Would have loved to go and have a dig at trying to win it this year. Given the opportunity, unfortunately, Anastasia Palaszczuk didn't want me in the race.
Yeah. I guess all those U-turns probably suit you with that stop, start if you sort of like your surging.
Yeah, it makes it interesting, I think, for a guy that's a bit shorter and, also Noosa's quite hot and humid, and I'm coming from a triathlon background and being a smaller guy, I'm good at handling the heat and humidity up there.
Yeah.
Also coming from a cycling background, I'm good at U-turns.
We'll chat about that soon. 10K on the road was your first road win, I think it was. May 2021 up there in Sydney, the Sydney 10, 28:55. Pretty solid.
Yes, that was very happy with that one. That was we didn't really have a plan for that one, but I kind of said to Benny I want to run quick, and so I ended up taking pretty much my training partners with me for a hit out. That's what it felt like anyway. Even though it was a race, I literally just had Matt Hudson, Tom DeCanto, and Benny with me. I kind of led up until 7-8K, and then Tom came around for the first time through in the surge, and I sat behind him for about half K, and sat next to each other, and then just did my usual kick with 200 to go. Coming a signature now, but that was probably that's probably my best 10K I've run in the last 2 years, I'd say, or ever, actually. Considering it's obviously, as you may know, track is probably a bit quicker than road. Benny interestingly ran about 6-7 seconds slower on the exact same course in the exact same conditions, same time of year, and then went on to run 28:17 on the track. So that was encouraging for me in thinking that I might have a possibility of doing the same thing, I guess.
Obviously you're doing a lot of work with Tommy and Benny Saints and that in training and good mates and all the rest of it. And then it comes to race day. Does that, when you guys are up there sort of, fighting for a win, I don't know, does it make you feel more confident? Is there any more sort of banter or chatter, or do you guys just quiet and get the job done? Or
I think there's a lot more mutual respect, I guess. Like, we help each other and we want each other to do well, but we're obviously very competitive. The other thing is we understand each other to a T. So
right.
We know exactly how fit each other is. We know what our strengths are. So we often, depending on, how everyone's going, we often kind of have an idea of who's fitter and what might happen. And, if, I haven't dropped so-and-so or so-and-so hasn't dropped me, probably know what's going to happen a bit more. But, it's very competitive, but we have a lot of respect for each other. And I think at the end of the day, it's just that we understand each other so well and we know what's going to happen. So we know each other's fitness levels. And it's kind of nice, though, doing it with the training partners. It sometimes doesn't feel like a race, though.
Yeah, and it may bring the best out of you as well, just in those conditions.
Yeah, definitely.
Mate, up there in Terry Hills amongst the horse paddocks, mate, I know the area well. I'm an Avalon boy. I spent a lot of time up that way, cycling, and mainly Ringer Cycle Club. We used to do time trials and that up there. And running in all those trails that I see you get around in, mate. Long time ago, mate, when you're still a glint in the old man's eye, mate, before you were around. But so I know that area really well. I miss that area. How long you been up that area for? Have you lived there all your life? Are you up there with your parents, or?
Yeah, so I lived in Davidson / Belrose, which is just close by, till I was about 11, till I think I was 11, 12, and then been here since 2011.
Yep. Okay.
And I think end of 2010 / early 2011. I've been here since then, and do a lot of my running on the trails around Terry Hills, Duffy's Forest, and also around Belrose. We've got quite a few close friends in the northern beaches that I ran with through lockdown, and I still do. Like I mentioned, Joe Burgess, he used to live on the beaches. Joel Solomon owns the Sticks and Bones running podcast, one of my best mates. I've run with Dan Kelly from the Blue Mountains a fair bit. Josh Phillips also, that goes to Villanova, he's from Belrose, so
Okay.
A lot of my running. I probably split my time between Narrabeen Lake, which I run with my girlfriend Ali a little bit, Belrose and Terry Hills. But Terry Hills is probably one of my favourite places. Both West Head Road is my signature long run. Try and run that pretty quick. It's got a lot of rolling hills. Starts with a climb, similar to Falls Creek Run kind of, but more elevation. Then there's the perimeter trail, just a lot of trails, a lot of hills. There's not really much flat here. It's nice and removed from society, I guess. Sometimes it doesn't feel like you're in Sydney when you're running.
No, it's a nice place up there. And yeah, we used to run that trail that used to head all the way out, and there was a lookout over the Hawkesbury River there. There's like a rock lookout. I don't know, you probably run out to that trail. It's sort of, you run out and you have to come back again.
Oh, perimeter. There's perimeter trail and then there's the long track.
Yeah,
And
right.
the
Yeah.
long track is the one that's got the lookout over. Did that
Okay.
one a couple of weeks ago, actually. Great trail network. It's one of the few places in basically the biggest city in the country that you can run and not see another person, which I actually really like. I like the peace and quiet and, not having to stop traffic lights or having any distractions. I can just chuck my headphones in and run and
Yeah.
really, I wouldn't say switch off, but kind of switch off from distractions, if you know what I mean.
Sure.
Not have people everywhere, cars everywhere.
Yep.
Sometimes I'll literally put my phone, turn all my data and my text off my phone and just chuck music in and I'll go into my little world. It's very relaxing.
Yep. No, definitely, mate. I'm hearing you. All right, mate, let's go back. I understand you sort of didn't come through the normal pathway of little A's like most of your track runners, but you sort of played around with the swim bike run sport before you sort of focused more on running. So let's talk about that. How did that all eventuate?
So I actually started off as a triathlete and I kind of was always running was probably always my strongest suit, followed by cycling. I was actually a pretty good cyclist as well, both on the mountain bike and road bike. I used to race all the criteriums around I actually used to be part of Manly Warringah Cycling Club like you and used to race, I don't know if you know, like the Hart Driving Centre in St Ives. The one.
Oh, yeah, I've never been up there. Yeah, yeah.
I used to race crits there and I used to do the West Head ones and I'd usually race either A Elite or A Club depending on how fit I was. So I was a good cyclist, good runner. Never really ran many Ks as a kid, so I was kind of missing that background. I would, really only do a run session or two a week. Wasn't even doing long runs till I was 18 or 19. I think I actually did. I think I did my longest run ever a couple of days before I raced World's Cross in Uganda, and I remember going for a jog with quite distinctively with Brett Robinson and Pat Tin and I think Stewie and Jack Rayner and Liam Adams, a bunch of those guys, and it's like, whoa, this is like a big thing for me back then. I'd run 15K. That was the longest run I'd done before World's Cross. A lot of my volume came from cycling, but I had a good triathlon career. I just couldn't quite hit the level I have in running because of my swimming was holding me back, and I both never really got the help or assistance that I needed from Triathlon Australia and, triathlon coach. Had some great triathlon coaches, but I didn't really live near any of them, which was the difficulty. So
you were doing this while you were at school? Is that when you got into triathlons?
Yeah, well, I pretty much went through my whole school career doing triathlon, and as I said, I had some great triathlon coaches, but it was almost impossible to actually spend any length of time with them because they're all so far away. There was one in like out in Penrith, one in Sutherland, some in Queensland. It was just Wollongong, Canberra, it's just not doable for a school student, and I ended up kind of falling through the cracks. And I did win a few. I won a state title when I was, I think under 20 state in 2016. I managed to win that as a running race off the bike because I remember I came out of the swim a bit back and managed to ride down the front pack and then turn into a running race, which is my kind of race. But I think 2017, 2018, I kind of saw that I wasn't really going anywhere and probably wouldn't because of my swimming. So I decided to do running because I enjoy it more.
Yeah, I see 2014 here, you over there in Edmonton, Canada, you went over there for the ITU series final race. So that was that was the triathlon and the aquathon, which is the swim run for those not familiar. So you're only 15 at the time. Was that sort of your first trip overseas?
For a race, yes.
Yeah.
That didn't go too well actually. I actually ended up getting quite sick about 3 or 4 days before. I got I think it was either flu or a very nasty cold.
Okay.
But my airway was not completely open, so it was a difficult time because I was really looking forward to that. But unfortunately, chucking a open water swim in at the front of those races wasn't exactly helpful for me either. It was a great experience. So I love traveling around Canada. I've since traveled overseas a few times for races, and traveling even into state for a race is just exciting. I love traveling and seeing different parts of the world.
Definitely, mate, and that's what sport will give you. Look, 2017, you mentioned there we'll talk about in detail in a sec. The World Junior Cross Countries over in Uganda. You also over in Perth there for the Junior Oceania Championships. So That's sort of, you mentioned there before that transition between the triathlon and going over to the running. So it must have been around about that time. So anything there to talk about with that 2017 Oceania Championships in Perth? Anything great happened there?
Ooh, I'm just trying to remember that race. I've raced so much and traveled so much, I sometimes don't remember things. I think with my experience in triathlon, duathlon, aquathon, I just felt like I wasn't really going to go anywhere with it, and I kind of gradually more and more worked out that I actually enjoyed running the most.
Yeah.
And
is that because like too much catch-up work to do out of the water, and triathlons these days, it's drafting, so I guess it's going to be pretty hard to get back on that lead group, and then you've got to try and run them down. But a lot of these guys are running so quick off the bike, it'd probably be a hard task. Would that be right? Or
yeah, look, I spent a lot of time in the water trying to catch up, and it just really wasn't going anywhere. And I'm not a person to give up, but I actually really wasn't enjoying it, and I just didn't see the point of doing something 10, 20, 30 hours a week that I hated when I could go do another sport that I thought I had a better chance in and enjoyed.
Yeah.
So there's two things just enjoyed running more, and I thought if I had to choose between a triathlon career and a running career, I thought I had more chance of a running career, considering I was a triathlete, but I was actually making Australian teams in another sport. It made more sense to go to the sport that I was actually making an Australian team in.
Were you doing cross country at school? Were you making sort of nationals? Were you at that sort of level at school for cross country, or?
I wasn't in early senior school. Towards the end of senior school, I was making nationals. I wasn't really much of a feature in nationals until year 12, where I was, I was running some top 10s and stuff, but really nothing too special, to be honest with you. I just raced cross country and enjoyed it, and I was decent at it, but didn't really. I feel like I really have only hit my stride and started to actually really open up my running career this year, to be honest.
All right, let's go down over to Uganda, mate. I guess it was your first Aussie singlet in running.
Yeah, it's my first proper Aussie singlet. I did race World Schools Cross in Hungary, but I wouldn't really count that, to be honest. It was my first real proper Australian singlet, I would call Uganda, yeah.
And the conditions, hot? Like what was going on over there? Hilly, I guess?
Hot, dry, and humid. It was a pretty special trip up. Some of my really close mates, like Josh Phillips and Ed Trippers, and some of the Zach Fascioni, those boys were there with me. Had a really good race over there. Uganda was quite the experience, basically a third world country that had very different security and had very different people, and it was an experience just traveling over there and keeping safe and all that. Had a great race over there for me. I massively surprised myself and ended up being the highest placed Australian and fair bit in front of the rest of them, which I really didn't expect back then. That kind of probably helped me decide that I wanted to be a runner.
Yeah. Was that like the shorter distance, like 6.5 or 8, or was it 10 or?
It was an 8K from memory.
8, okay.
It's very, very hot and humid, and I remember running in a pack of just Africans, and I was more high up. I didn't quite have the confidence. I probably should have gone out a bit quicker, but I remember going out and sitting with all these Africans and just going, oh my gosh, this is like a different world. And ended up being, I think it was the second placed white guy in the world or something. It was crazy.
Yeah, okay.
There was literally 40, 50 Africans in front of me and like 3 Japanese guys.
Yeah, unreal. Did you get to have a bit of a trip when you were over there, or was it just straight over there, race and come home, or?
We were there, I think we were there like 4 days before maybe, and we left the day after. So it was a pretty quick in and out trip. At the time, Uganda was almost on the do not travel list on the New South Australian government DFAT website. So I don't think we were hanging around too much. We spent a decent amount of time in the hotel just because of Uganda's security situation.
Okay, bit scary.
Yeah, we had our moments that were a little scarier than others, that's for sure.
All right, we mentioned that before. You are with Run Crew there, Benny Saints. Bloody good environment to be around. Bunch of good blokes in there. Imagine there's a bit of banter, a bit of fun going on around training.
Yeah, look, I love Run Crew and I love the environment that I'm in, both in terms of my direct training partners and just everyone that's there. It's a really good vibe. It's fun, it's serious when it needs to be, but we're all good mates. We all muck around. Benny and Tom and Matt Hudson, we've all done a lot of training together. We definitely push each other hard. Lately, I've been a little bit more solo in the Tuesday sessions because sometimes Benny will do his own thing in the mountains because he's got a coach or doesn't want to do as much speed work as I'm doing because he's focusing on the longer stuff. Matt Hudson's been out for a bit. I think he's a little bit sick or something. I'm hoping he comes back soon because he was in really good shape earlier this year. I think he's just building back up now. And Tom and Ben and I usually train together Saturday along with the rest of the group, but we do some pretty quick tempos and thresholds around Centennial.
Always doing your speed work with them. You never have to go out and do any of it on your own.
Well, I mean, obviously lockdown, I was doing it on my own, but most of the time I get to run with those guys. It just depends what we're doing. Sometimes we'll drop each other or have different workouts.
What are you running? 7 days a week?
Yeah,
like six days twice a day, or what's the schedule?
7 days a week. I don't really have any days off unless injured or sick. Just don't see the point in it. But I definitely have, rest days, so to speak. And if I'm needed, I'll take one. Just gotten good at listening to my body. I'm running. My mileage has dropped a little bit because I've been doing a bit more speed work, and I've been forced to actually work a little bit more because a few people have quit at my job where I work for Nike in Hornsby.
Okay.
That's basically just to support myself through running because I'm hoping at some point soon I can get a professional contract and either run for a group or just continue where I am now and get a sponsor. Usually I'm on about 150k a week, and that's going to be the plan leading up to SOPAC. But
okay.
That's just 7 days a week of running. I'll double 2-3 times a week, and I'll do 2 gym sessions.
So how's that strength and conditioning look like? Are you doing that like with a group? Is there like any structure to that, or?
Yeah, so I've got a strength coach that I see twice a week, and that's just an individual training session that we do together and go through my workout, and it's on a 4-week cycle. Pretty simple, normal stuff, but his name's Dan Harris. He's really, really good with it. He knows what he's doing. It's called the gym's. I think we've just opened up a gym actually. It's called Elite Health Club down in Eastern Valley Way. If you're needing a strength coach, Dan is very good. One of his friends, Tony Butaji, I think that's how you pronounce his last name. Helped Ben out all through the Olympics and was his strength coach. So
fantastic.
Dan's coming from a place of a lot of expertise and knowledge, and he's done a lot for me in terms of both in the gym and what it's done directly for my running as well.
Is there besides the strength and conditioning, do you do any sort of like recovery modalities that you're sort of becoming used to doing? Like would it be rolling or ice baths or massage or any of those other things?
I don't do a lot of that stuff, to be honest. I probably should be, but I do. I mean, I jump in the pool. Our pool's not heated, so over winter it becomes a bit of an ice bath. I've really focused on my diet, just making sure I'm fueling. I wouldn't say I have a particularly clean diet, but I'm just making sure that I'm eating the right amount of things, like carbs, protein, magnesium, all of that stuff. Just iron, making sure I'm doing all the right things there. I've got a spiky ball. I use a band to activate my glutes. So nothing really special or crazy or interesting, but I'm definitely paying attention to what my body needs.
So working at Nike or Nike, I never know which one to say. It depends.
Depends what side of the world you're on.
Exactly, mate. Well, are you studying uni, or you were, or you're not, or?
I'm just working at the moment. I'm not studying at uni.
Well, hopefully, like you said, maybe working for Nike might help you pick up a sponsor. I mean, that's the dream, isn't it?
Yeah, that's the goal. I'm hoping that I can go to Nike or another shoe brand who, and just say, look, I really want to work with you. Like I'm interested in, the social media side and promoting a brand, helping grow a brand. If it obviously Nike and New Balance and Adidas, the really good shoe brands don't probably need help growing, but they can definitely help grow their customer base. And, I'm very interested in shoes, as is Tom DeCanto as being a podiatrist, but I've done a bit of study in that area unofficially, just, through Nike and through friends and doing a bit of reading. So I'm very interested in shoes and shoe tech, and definitely would love to, test products and help develop new shoes. It's a cool part of the job.
Yeah, no, definitely. That'd be fun, mate, for sure. Just looking at, the current crop of runners at the moment, there's a growing list of guys running around that 28:30 for 10,000 at the moment, which is pretty awesome for distance running in Australia now, and sort of obviously in the coming years. But I mean, 28:30 is still a minute off the qualifying standard at majors of 27:28, which is pretty scary, isn't it? Only ever had three runners run that quick. Obviously, your coach Benny, Stewie, and Paddy Tiernan. So I'm just wondering, Do you just keep working? I mean, obviously you got Benny Saints as your coach. I mean, what a man to have on your side helping you out there. But do you just keep working at getting faster at the 10,000 on track, possibly trying to crack the 28? Or are you sort of getting the stage where you start thinking about switching up to the longer distances on the road? And what tends to happen is when guys start doing marathon training, the extra strength and endurance they get, they start to run quicker on the track. Like, is there a transition period you're starting to think about, or is it just focus on getting quicker on the track for now?
At the moment, I'm just focused on the shorter stuff, getting quicker on the track. I feel like I haven't really had an opportunity to run to my potential over 10K, both because I've only really been under Benny for a year or two, and I feel like I've only taken this sport 100% seriously in the last year. I feel like I was a little bit in and out, and doing 90% of the things I should have been doing, and not as consistent. So I think I've still got a lot of improvement in me, and confident that I can try and crack that 28-minute barrier in the next year, hopefully.
Yeah, no, that'd be awesome. So at the moment, you mentioned there before SOPAC. I guess that'll be Australia Day weekend. That's the next goal, is it? That's what everything's leading towards now.
Yeah, I've got a couple of races this year that I'm gonna give a good crack to, which is potentially New South Wales 10K on track and the Sydney Harbour 10, and I might even depending on whether I want to do a training block for SOPAC or whether I want to race, I might do something like an Albi Top My Smile if I feel like switching up and doing something shorter. But yeah, SOPAC is the big goal. That's what I'm really working towards. I want to try and run fast there and see what I can do. I couldn't give you an exact time because I might either undersell or oversell myself, and I'd obviously rather undersell myself and then run better. But I don't want to limit myself to a time either when I might be in better shape than I think.
Any idea how many guys have ran sub 28 in this country? I should have looked that up before.
I don't think there's not many. Not many at all. I know Jack Rayner and Brett have done it. Obviously, Stewie's done it. Pat Tiernan, Ben's done it. I don't know how many 10Ks Mottram has done on the track, but I would say he's definitely done it.
Yeah, I think Mottram was 35. Collis Birmingham's 29.
Dave McNeil would have done it.
Yeah, obviously Sean held that for a long time before Benny got it. So yeah, let's call it a dozen. So yeah, it's solid anyway.
Yeah, I feel like once you get into the 27 bracket for 10K, you're almost definitely going to be having sponsors knock on your door, and I think that kind of turns you from someone that might say they're kind of professional or racing at professional level to someone that can actually do it as a career.
Yep.
And being out, look, if I ran, I'd be very happy with a low 28s. I think I'm based on what I'm doing in my sessions and my training and races. It's definitely doable to run something like that, but it's what exactly, whether it's a 28:15 or whether it's a 27:55, I don't know. I don't want to put a time when I wouldn't have a clue. So the goal is to run sub 28 because I feel like that's because I want to have a crack at Com Games for the 10K.
And Com Games, I mean Birmingham, and Worlds all coming up next year, and that's still 27:28, isn't it, for Com Games as well?
I think that might be the A qualifier. I think Com Games is a bit slow. I think Com Games is 27:40 or 50 from memory. I think the B qualifier might be 28 minutes or 28:10. So I might be able to sneak in with a B qualifier. Just obviously depends. We do have a lot of guys that have run much quicker than that. So I might rock up the SOPAC and run a huge PB, and it still might not be enough depending on who's there. So
yeah, right. So at this stage, you're still thinking that Eugene, Oregon, or Birmingham next year is a possibility.
Oh, it's definitely a goal. It's something that I want to try and get after. It's hard to say whether I'll do it or not, but it's definitely what I'm working towards is in the plan.
And it'd probably be a good pathway to Paris in 24.
Yeah, definitely. Like my goal is to make this into a career. Like I want to be a full-time professional runner and be able to, not have to work a job to support myself and literally make running my full-time career and, obviously then have a stepping stone into another career after running. But yeah, the goal is to be making Olympics and Commonwealth Games and have a sponsor and go overseas and race. That's the dream.
Yeah, well, you're certainly doing everything you possibly can, mate. So it's fantastic. Boy, I love rap music and cars. Tell me about that, mate. With rap music.
I'm a rapper myself.
Yeah.
I used to muck around with it. With like rap music, and then just started to get better at it. And I'm probably going to record a few songs soon. I'll have
Yeah,
to
okay.
keep you updated on that one. I love hip hop music and music in general. I've grown up with a musical background, playing a lot of different instruments, and then listening to a lot of hip hop, and starting to teach myself to rap, and then just became a thing. Just I love the hip hop genre, the culture, the music.
Yeah, okay. Yep. Just the stories they tell.
Yeah, the musicality, the stories, everything about it is kind of, I don't know, I like it and it resonates with me. I just love listening to music in general, but particularly hip hop is like probably my thing, both the Australian and the UK and American. But
Yeah, I mean, you talk about dreaming big and all the rest of it, and then talk about rap. Eminem proved that anything is possible if you dream and don't let things drag you down. Because he was certainly they pulled him down pretty hard, and he just kept
oh
getting
yeah,
back up.
yeah. Look, I'm more new to the game with rapping, and obviously haven't really put myself out there too much yet. But I'm definitely gonna give it a go because there's nothing to lose, and I've started to get better at it. I've showed it to my friends some of the stuff I've written, and they've been impressed. And I've sent it to a few producers and advertising and marketing agencies, and I've had a really pleasing response so far. So I'm gonna keep at it, and maybe hope once I can drop my hours at work and just focus on running, then I can probably spend some more time and money on my music career if I want to go for that, which I think I do.
Yeah, no, it's awesome. It's good to have something to distract you from running. I mean, rather than just be eat, breathe, sleep, running all the time. To have something
Yeah.
it's like an outlet. It's it's so good for the mind. To be able to get all those feelings out with a musical instrument or with vocals or whatever it might be. It's like an outlet, isn't it?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, it's an emotional outlet for me. It's fun. It's something I can do with some of my mates that love the same genre and start to rap as well. For me as well, it's actually, well, it's a hobby, but it's a hobby and it's in a dream in the same context. And I just love,
Yeah,
it's funny, even before a race, I'll sometimes just sit there rapping. Like I'll literally just chuck a random beat on in freestyle or rehearse something I've made up. It's just it's a distraction, but it's also almost gets me in the right mood to race. To be honest.
I bet when you're out there running, sort of getting in the zone and just sort of your thoughts. It's amazing what you can think about on a run. You're probably coming up with some lyrics while you're out there running and trying to
Yeah.
remember them when you get back. Are you?
Funny you say that. Sometimes I'll actually be trying to punch in lyrics on my phone
Yeah.
while I'm running. I've got my notes section of my phone is literally heaps and heaps of there's probably hundreds of raps that I've written or just lyrics or bits
Yeah.
and pieces, lines,
Yeah.
all of
Yeah.
that stuff. So
Yeah.
yeah, I've definitely spent more time on it recently. I think after sending it to a few friends, and people that are in the industry, I've started to take it more seriously.
Oh, that's awesome, man. That's really good to hear. It's good to hear. I like to hear, people at your caliber in running, but also have something else to distract themselves from because it can be unhealthy just to have your whole life evolve around running. So I think that's going to
Definitely.
make you a better runner, in general. Yeah,
Oh, for
that's
sure.
fantastic.
I think I would struggle if I didn't have music, and I think taking music more seriously will be helpful for me because if I just had running and I didn't have a job or didn't have anything else, it can be really hard when things don't go right and your whole world comes crashing down.
Yep.
It's good for my mental health, both in and outlet of itself.
Yeah. Yep.
And it's another thing that I care about and that I can work on and pride myself on and try and be the best version of myself. So I kind of I like that. My philosophy is that I don't just want to be the best version of myself as a runner. I want to be that as a person, as a musician, as everything really. Like
Yep.
very very into cars as well, and driven on Eastern Creek Raceway a few times. Got a sports car myself. That's where all my money goes.
Yeah. Okay. Sports car as in what?
I got a Mark 5 GTI with a few things done to it.
Yeah. Okay. Right. Yeah. Right. Yeah. Yeah. They're a bit of a money pit, aren't they? But you got to love it.
Old European cars, yes, they are. I remember buying it in COVID last year when I didn't have a job, and 3 weeks in, I was driving back from a run with my mate Josh Phillips, who currently runs from Villanova, and the transmission blew, and $2.5 grand went down the drain. That wasn't
Yeah.
fun. Great car though. They're like driving go-karts. They're pretty quick. They're also admittedly offensively loud. You can definitely hear me coming before you see me in that car.
Sure. No sneaking up for sure.
No,
I bet the neighbours love it.
they do. Luckily, my neighbours are about 500 meters away, so
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
they
Yeah.
have
Yeah.
to live a bit
Have you
closer.
got horses on your property? Do you
No,
ride
our
horses?
property's
No.
built on sandstones, rocks,
Okay.
and it's also quite sloped. So no, we wanted to, but we have a few wallabies sitting around, and we've got a tennis court and pool.
The racing this year, mate. What else is on before the end of the year?
I've got Sydney Harbour 10. I've got potentially state 10K on the track.
When's that?
They're both. So state 10K is 2 weeks from now. Then Sydney
Okay.
Harbour 10 is the week after that. So Sydney Harbour 10 is December 5th.
Okay.
May choose to race one more time before Christmas, but maybe not. And then SOPAC after that.
Starting to warm up. I mean, it hasn't really warmed up summer anyway on the East Coast, has it? But
no, I'm kind of. There's been a few days that I've gone, whoa, this is hot. But for the most part, even last night was cold. Good for racing, but it's not quite what I was expecting. I was expecting it to be really hot. So there you go. It's a weird season. I feel like climate change and global warming is changing things for us.
All right, mate. Look, thanks heaps for chatting to us today, mate. Once again, awesome taking home the chockies last night, mate. It was fantastic to watch. It was a gutsy race, mate, and I think there was a statement made there. So you don't have to agree with that, but I think that's what we're all saying. It was fantastic.
Thank you very much.
So championships, mate, they're obviously something you can be proud of and something you can cherish forever, mate. They'll never take that off. You have two in the same year. That's obviously going to show that you and your team are doing everything right, mate, and all those dreams may become reality, mate. So looking forward to watching the rest of your career unfold. I'm glad the racing is back on for all you guys. You know what I mean? So you can all get back to business and do what you're meant to be doing. And we all as spectators love watching the show you guys put on, mate. So yeah, thanks for hurting out there last night, mate.
Yeah, thank you very much for having me. It's been a pleasure to talk to you. Ron Crew's definitely heading in the right direction, and I'm happy with how I'm going and excited for the future. So. Yeah, keen to get back out there and keep racing.
Yeah, awesome, mate. We'll be following along. Social handles, I guess, Instagram people and Strava and all that sort of thing. Do you use Strava or?
Yeah, I got Strava. I can flick you through those. My Instagram is just Kieren_Tall, so KIEREN_TALL.
Cool.
Strava is just my name.
I'll whack those links in the show notes below.
Yeah.
The listeners can just click on them, mate, and follow along, mate, and get some pics of that hair, mate.
Yeah, that's it. I've got a few mullet pics on the Instagram, that's for sure. It's mainly just, there's not really anything but running pictures on my Instagram at the moment.
That's all right, mate. You're a runner, mate.
Photographers.
Yeah, well, we need to get some pictures of those cars, mate, and maybe the headphones on, spinning some vinyl, but we'll get to that.
That's it. Maybe a bit of music, that's it.
For sure, mate. Definitely, mate. Your soundtrack in the background, you know what I mean? That'd be awesome.
Yeah, maybe one day. Love it.
Yeah, no, it'll happen, mate. I reckon you're a man that just gets the job done. So, awesome, Tally. Thank you so much, mate. And
No
like I
worries.
said, fantastic. And we'll be watching what happens in the future, mate.
Thanks again for having me. Appreciate it.
No worries, mate. Cheers.
Hey guys, I'd just like to say a quick thank you to our people who have done a review over there on Apple Podcast or iTunes. Don't really hassle you guys to do that. I had a flick over there the other day on my son's iPhone, and yeah, I was very, very happy. Bit of a nice feeling when you see people are enjoying what I'm doing and giving some positive feedback. So for those people who did that, really appreciate it, and thank you very much.